What is up there everyone, it's the guy with no gamer tech here, and today I want to talk about the elite classes available in the Battlefield 1 Open Beta and how I feel is best to deal with them. Now starting off with the Sentry, he's a very heavily armoured soldier, hip firing a light machine gun. Now my personal preference with using this class is to actually just use him to assault objectives. He's very heavily armoured and so has a lot more health than normal and has a lot of ammo and can definitely spray down a fair few enemies. But if you get on and arm the objective, it makes it very difficult for the defenders to actually contest this, because you have so much health and so much ammo you can basically spray anyone down who tries to prevent you arming it or tries to defuse it. So he's definitely very useful at assaulting objectives. However, he does have some vulnerabilities. Firstly, he doesn't move very quickly, so definitely if you have a lot of enemies engaging you, you do have to watch out for that. So if you have a medic on your squad you can work with, that makes him a lot more powerful because you can keep regenerating his health quickly. So that is definitely something you need to bear in mind, because you will easily get killed if you can't get to cover, because you do still take damage to any infantry weapons. Now the second class is the Flame Trooper. This class has access to a flamethrower and an incendiary grenade. Now the flamethrower actually has a surprising amount of range. I didn't expect it to shoot this far, but it does have a lot of range to it, and of course fire does damage over time, so once you've started hitting someone with the flames, they are going to continue to take damage until the flames are extinguished or they die. So it's definitely a very powerful weapon, and it's extremely useful for locking down alleyways, because you can stop enemies going down certain choke points, because they're not going to want to run through the fire because they know they're going to die. If you are close to someone and you get a lot of fire onto them, you will kill them very quickly, so people are always wary of that. However, you do need to watch out, because you can actually end up damaging yourself. If you're trying to shoot someone who, for example, is on the other side of a window and you hit the window frame, that can then set fire to you if you're too close to the wall. So you need to be careful, because you can very easily deal damage to yourself, which leaves you a lot more vulnerable. The Flame Trooper does have a little bit more extra health than an infantry soldier, but you can easily deplete that and you can make yourself very vulnerable. Now, although it looks like the Flame Trooper has a gas mask, from my personal experience in game, it doesn't appear to actually work like a gas mask, because if I've walked into an enemy gas grenade, I do still take damage to it. So I'm assuming that the Flame Trooper, like all the other classes, is still vulnerable to gas. Now the third and final elite class is the Tank Hunter. Now the Tank Hunter has access to the Tank Gewehr rifle. This is an anti-tank rifle and it is extremely powerful. You can one-shot any lightly armoured jeep or armoured car. You can easily take them down. An artillery truck usually only takes 2 shots from this rifle, and you can one-shot any infantry soldier. It is a very powerful rifle. However, you do need to be aware that when you want to fire it, you do need to deploy a bipod, much like the AT rocket gun. So you need to find somewhere that you can deploy the bipod and shoot at the enemies without them finding you. That is one of the main balances of this particular class, because you also have to work with the iron sights of this rifle. It's a simple case of it would be an unbelievably good long range weapon if it didn't have the iron sights. So you've got to be close enough to the action so that you can actually see your targets and find them with the iron sights, but you need to be far enough away that you aren't going to get instantly taken out and you are actually able to deploy your bipod. It's useful against all types of tanks. The less armoured the vehicle, the quicker you're going to deal with it. Now I've also done some testing between all 3 classes of how they stand up against each other. Now the Tank Hunter cannot one-shot the Sentry. It appears that regardless of whether you shoot them in the head or the body, you will always do 75 damage, so it's always going to take you 2 shots to kill a full health Sentry. However, the Tank Hunter will one-shot the Flame Trooper, so as you can see the Flame Trooper clearly has less health than the Sentry, so that is something you will need to bear in mind. And lastly, the Tank Hunter has normal infantry soldier health. You are going to have the same amount of health as anyone using the medic kit or the support kit, so you need to be wary of that, because if you get in one-on-one engagements, you could well end up losing. I'd advise, if you're moving around the map, have your M1911 pistol out, because that will give you the best chance of hopefully winning any one-on-one engagements. Now another thing I have found out from my gameplay experience is actually, because of the Sentry's lower mobility, the Flame Trooper is definitely very useful at killing the Sentry, because you can put a lot of damage into them and the Sentry is going to struggle to get away from the Flame Trooper, because the Flame Trooper is a lot more mobile than the Sentry. Now the best ways to deal with these elite classes if you're a normal soldier, I find explosives and generally just grenades are probably one of the best ways of dealing with them. Any type of grenade will do a fair amount of damage. I've had countless moments where I was playing as the sentry and I've gone in and had to knife someone, but they've been just about to throw a grenade. They drop it at my feet and I instantly die. Same with the flame trooper. I'll be at low health, someone will throw a grenade into me and it will finish me off. It is very easy to die with these classes to a grenade. Now also, dynamite is very effective. I had one moment where I found out dynamite can one-shot the flame trooper. Admittedly, it took me a bit too long to realise I wasn't dead. This was a bit of a noob moment for me. But it is generally, all explosives are very useful. All of the elite classes are also vulnerable to fire and gas, so you can definitely use incendiary grenades and gas grenades to deal a lot of damage to these elite classes. Tanks obviously will one-shot these elite classes if you hit them directly with the cannon or the canister shell, and also melee attacks, surprisingly enough, appear to be very effective against these elite classes. If you manage to get behind any of these classes, you can do a melee takedown. That should easily finish off these classes. But if you want to find these elite classes and you're playing Conquest, you'll find the Flame Trooper at the B flag, you'll find the Tank Hunter at the E flag, and you'll find the Sentry at the F flag. If you're playing Rush, the attackers have access to the Flame Trooper in their deployment. You'll go a little bit further ahead and it'll be in a box just in front of this rock. If you're playing as the Defenders in Rush, when you're on the last base, it's in this small building just behind the A objective. If you want to use the Sentry, it's in the desert between the first and third bases. It does seem to move around a little bit, but it is between these bases and you should find the box somewhere in this area. If you want to find the Tank Hunter, it's on the third base. It's more towards the Defender's deployment and you'll find it in this box in the middle of the canyon. But I've actually had quite a lot of fun using these elite classes. They definitely add a new element to the gameplay and it is quite fun to use them because you can just go around being an absolute tank, and it definitely is quite fun, especially when you're having a barbecue party with the Flame Trooper. But I do hope you've enjoyed the video. This has been the Gardener Game Attack, and I'll see you on another video.